The fight for compensation for Idaho Downwinders might be close to over after decades of suffering the effects of nuclear fallout. However, that fight may not be over for everyone. I'm your Emmett Neighbor reporter, Alexander Huddleston, speaking with a leader of the movement to see what is next.
I'm ecstatic that we're this close. This is the closest we've ever been.
Things are starting to look up for Idaho Downwinders after news broke earlier this week that Senator Mike Crapo was able to get Idaho back on the list for a bill that would give compensation for those affected by nuclear fallout over half a century ago.
It would be $100,000 for 19 different types of cancer. You can only file once. If you've had 5 different types of cancer, you don't get it 5 times.
After my last report on Idaho being stripped from compensation, we were reached out to by Eagle local Karen Brodesser, who was originally from Hermiston, Oregon, a community that was heavily impacted by radioactive material from the Hanford nuclear site, 75 miles north in bordering state Washington.
And I graduated with a class of 150 students in 1960. 5 years after we graduated, classmates started to die, and we lost 1/3 of our classmates.
Brodesser explained that seeing the impact one nuclear plant had on her community, she is glad the government is finally working to help the multiple areas impacted by their testing years ago.
People are gone that are gone, and it's sad, and it's time that it happened for those that are left.
I met back up with Idaho Downwinders president Tona Henderson, this time to talk about the exciting news that she and so many have been fighting for. However, Henderson explained that as relieving as it is, it's hard to ignore that there are still people suffering from impacts of nuclear testing who didn't get put back on the bill.
How can I be happy if these other people aren't included?
One area in particular was even mentioned in a study of the fallout orchestrated by the National Academy of Science.
They even say that Guam should be considered downwinders.
The U.S. island territory of Guam saw impacts from nuclear fallout after U.S. bomb testing in the Marshall Islands during the late 40s and early 50s. Henderson has worked alongside leaders in Guam to get compensation, but have once again been excluded. I reached out to these leaders, but due to scheduling conflicts, they were unable to make a comment. We plan to follow up in a future report. Unless the bill is once again amended, the bill is set to be signed by President Donald Trump on Friday, July 4th. I'm your Emmett Neighbor reporter, Alexander Huddleston, for Idaho News 6.